which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Very good. Well, welcome everyone. I see Chaplain Ernest is here. Do you want to come forward, Ernest?
Please pray with me. Dear wise and loving Almighty God, first let me say thank you on behalf of all who are gathered here today. Thank you for your many and abundant blessings. Thank you for life itself. Thank you for the measure of health we need to fulfill our calling, for substance and for friendship. Thank you for the ability to be involved in useful work and for the honor of bearing appropriate responsibilities. Thanks as well for freedom. Thank you for loving us. As your children, you have said that citizens ought to obey the government authorities, since you have established those very authorities to promote peace and order and justice. Therefore, I pray for our mayor, for the various levels of city officials, and in particular for those in this assembled council, in the mighty name of Almighty Father. Amen.
Well, thank you, Ernest. All right. As we get started tonight, I wanted to recognize some folks. You know, we had oh yeah, we need a roll call. I was so excited. Please, Alice, a roll call.
Okay, yes. Petrakos?
Here.
Alderman Capadona is absent. Alderman Gilogly?
Here.
Alderman Smith is absent. Alderman Duskin is absent. Alderman Vandermeer?
Here.
Alderman Coretta?
Here.
Alderwoman Bartleson?
Here.
5 present, Mayor.
All right, thank you. So we just finished up our summer art series, which involved, you know, a number of things, everything from Old Canal Days, some of the events there, through Comicopoulos, through some of the events that were featured at the Gaylord Building, all the way up until kind of the finale, which has a steampunk theme. And, you know, one of the things I wanted to say is it's really pretty much driven by volunteers. And they do an amazing job. And, you know, one of the things I think is so powerful about it, one of the reasons I've, you know, sought to do this these last few years is the impact of being a regional attraction. It's always been difficult to say, hey, we're going to do promotions or we're going to advertise our downtown because, you know, it's still struggling. It's not quite at a place where it has a high economic development where you can, you know, go shopping or do lots of things down there. So we wanted to leverage our strengths. And so creating an event that shows off some of those strengths, which is the canal and some of the historic buildings, you know, the committee came up with that kind of a fun, fantastic way of doing that, and that's where the steampunk theme came from. It's kind of a romantic look at the 19th century age of invention. And one of the other things I knew about this kind of genre is you can promote it regionally. And so when, you know, the committee, you know, through a lot of hard work on social media and every other kind of venue they could think of, began to promote this and sell tickets to it, I literally have a list here of where all the tickets were sold. 16 different states. I had people from California, Florida, Kentucky, Tennessee, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Washington, Texas, not to mention, you know, Illinois, you know, Indiana, Michigan, the ones that I was really kind of shooting for. But, you know, the ability for this kind of festival to attract people here. And even I think Renee, one of the people on the committee, you know, she made a comment that as she was talking to people who were visiting, they were in Jacksonville, and they're like, well, you know, we really like Lockport. We've been thinking about moving, and this is really has a lot of things that we like, and that's what it's about. As we fill out the Sagebrook subdivision, and housing prices started at $280, and there's houses selling for $410, $420 right now because people are moving here not just because they got relocated and they didn't know where they were going. They are moving here because they want to be here. So when we do things like this and attract people from the outside, it really helps just the momentum. And I'll give you another example how it works. I had a call yesterday. Tim Flanagan and I were talking to the regional director for Burger King. You know, I wanted to get on the phone with these guys, find out what's going on, what's, what are the next steps here with, our small coffee here with our Burger King in town. And, as we were talking through things, one of the things he mentioned was, yeah, I see you guys are doing a lot. I see your festivals. I really see that going on. And it's hands down because he sees the advertisements. And he doesn't live around here. He's up in Downers Grove. But that's what he said he saw. And it's always been my, the method to the madness is keeping the name of Lockport out there in as many ways as possible. And that's why I want to thank the volunteers who worked so hard to make that happen. It really all happened because of a group of people that I'd like to recognize tonight. So, that said, I'm asking Mitzi, Wayne, Katie, Christina, Nancy, Armin, Renee, Mark, Lynn, Tom, and Brian, if you guys are here, to meet me over at the podium, please. No, just kind of come on down. So just quickly, I want to run through the names again of people who helped with this. There was the Blanchards, the whole family. There's Mitzi, Wayne, Katie. Where are you guys all at? Where's Berto? I know he's not really the family, but he's kind of family. Berto was the bearded lady. Did you guys, anybody see the bearded lady at the... It was pretty good. You guys are wonderful. I mean, I can't say enough about, just the creativity that you guys bring to this and the energy level. I want to thank you so much. And then, of course, Christina, which really is kind of family in a way. The four of you were just a tremendous asset in making this happen. And I think, Christina, you've never had one of the cool volunteer hats, so you get the volunteer hat and a pin this year. Thank you so much for everything. Wonderful. And Wayne, you get your 2016 pin, and Katie and Mitzi. So thank you guys so much. It was such a blessing to work together. And then next we had the Ramirez's. Did they make it out tonight? They didn't make it out tonight. But I think you guys know Nancy and her family. They're characters and wonderful. So they just bring a lot of energy. The Langs. Oh, did Mark make it out tonight? That's okay. He's trying to lay low. I understand. Come on over here, Renee. Renee really helped coordinate things in the tent, and we really appreciate all you did. I know you got your hat, so here's your 2016 pin, and thank you for all your hard work. And then, is Mark here? No, he's not here today, right? Okay. So then we got the Sperlings, of course. The Sperlings, the foundation, the cornerstone, the wheel, right? Everything that goes on that's great down here in downtown Lockport is the Sperlings are involved in it. So come on over here. I want to thank you guys so much for all you do. And thank you. It's just wonderful. It's a blessing. Tommy, man, here's your pin for 2016. Thanks. Appreciate it. And then Brian. Where's my man Brian? Thanks for helping out with everything. You've never had a hat before, but you've deserved this many times in the past. My apologies for not, recognizing it earlier. But thanks for all you do. So, and again, all this is done by volunteers. My wife, of course, does a tremendous amount of work. She couldn't make it tonight. She was feeling a little under the weather. But her and Zoe and Penelope, they're always doing something, putting stuff together. I know they couldn't be here, but I do want to recognize the hard work. And again, it's all just people make this stuff happen. And in any events, whether it's Old Canal Days, whether it's this, it's just people stepping up. People who not just say, hey, wouldn't it be nice if the city did something? Anybody can do it. And I get that all day long. I get people, hey, why don't we do this? Why don't we do that? It's like, well, you know what? A voice of change is a voice in charge, I tell them. And then they all go back to their... But you guys don't do that. You've stepped forward and you're part of the process of making Lockport great and putting it on the map, not just regionally, but nationally with this last festival. So thank you again for all you do. Bravo.
I just want to thank the mayor and the city council for allowing this to happen, because it's so cool that we get to do this thing that nobody else is doing in the area. It's not another corn maze, and it's not another craft show, and it's not another anything. It's just so singular and so unique, and I want to thank you because it's making me more excited about living here. And I think a lot of people are getting more excited about living here. So thank you.
All right, my friends. And I always say, I'm not offended if you all leave right now. Don't feel like you can't. All right, so first thing on the agenda. Big Ben, what do you got?
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. The first item on the agenda is CA1. It's the wastewater treatment plan capacity evaluation and a concept for a regional feasibility study. I know Strand Associates, I think their Mike is here. So basically, if you remember, we did do a look last year at what we were doing with our current water and our wastewater capabilities. We learned about some of our capacities, and if we continue with our growth, we know that eventually we're going to have to invest in either a larger capacity for water sewer treatment or potentially another facility someday. So what I'm proposing tonight is with the inside your packet, there's an agreement from Strand in regards to handling these task orders. The first half is to basically look at the feasibility and what would happen in regards to expanding one of our treatment plants, the Division Street treatment facility, and that's for $41,000. There's a second portion of this task order, which would be another $47,000, but that would be looking into a potential regional treatment plant in the future if warranted. We've already reached out to our other communities that are adjoining us in our facility planning areas. That's Romaville and Homer Glen. They have shown an interest that a regional approach might be something we would all consider. I believe they're going to be talking about this investment, which would be split either 2 or 3 ways at a maximum of $23,500 or as little as $15,666 if 3 of us do it. I know that they're taking it to their finance committees and in their process as well. And what I was looking to do was go ahead and get Strand going on the capacity part of the study, and then get your authorization to enter into a 2 or 3-way contract if warranted by the partnerships in these other communities. And we would look to approve this contract not to exceed any more than $64,500, which would be the $41,000 for our capacity expansion at Division, and then either $15,000 to $23,000 depending on how many partners we can find in regards to a regional approach. So I've got Mike here if you have any specific questions, but basically we're looking to proceed on the potential expansion of the Division Street wastewater treatment plant, and then potentially look at a regional site location in regards to another facility someday in the future if we have some partners that want to do that with us.
All right, thoughts, questions?
I think it's information we need, right? I mean, we've got to come up with some sort of plan for this at some point or another. Do we know, and you mentioned maybe partnering. I'll just keep it on mute. Are they going to need, like, Homer Glen was one of them. Is Homer Glen projected to also need, in the relatively similar time frame as us, some more
Absolutely.
water
A
treatment?
good chunk of Homer Glen, many people may not realize this, a good chunk of Homer Glen is in Lockport's facility planning area as you go east. So certainly they use, some of their conveyance comes to us already anyway. Romaville has grand plans, and whenever anything is doing regional, we've talked to Lamont, Romaville, Homer Glen, our border communities to see what their level of interest is, and so we'll see what they want to propose. But at this point, we definitely want to get started with our own needs, and then if there's more of a regional partnership that develops, then we would look into that and bring the results of that back.
I think it makes sense. We need to understand what our possibilities are, and
Right.
shared costs with the regional would be
And that would involve, footprint and space down by division. I mean, it could, depending on how the design goes and what could play out. I mean,
The question I have is, if we do a regional one, do we still need to do division? Chicken before the egg type of thing. If we already,
Yeah, well, I guess we're not proposing doing either at this time, but we're exploring what those options are in either. So I guess the question would be, a division would be obviously the most cost efficient way to do it. Is that enough for a certain time period? Yes. Eventually, if growth projections meet the CMAP numbers, we're gonna need another one. If we need another one, do we do it alone, or do we have a regional partnership? I think having an answer in regards to whether, a regional would even be feasible would be something good to know before we venture into whether we need a new one or a regional one.
well, that's what I was asking, maybe we do the regional one first, find out if that works. I mean, I don't know how that process, if we do the regional and it works and that solves all our problems, and everyone's gung-ho to do it, and we build it, then does division, I don't want a study sitting there on a shelf for,
Yeah.
while we're building the regional one, and division sits and does nothing.
I think at this point, we're trying to evaluate both those options and then make a determination of what's best, you know, but I don't know if I can justify spending all the money on a regional just on our own, so that's why we were gonna start with the expansion of the current facility, if that makes sense.
Do we know that if you mind, I know that Fox Hollow was just recently purchased. So was that already factored into our current needs, or is that something that would be part of expanded needs for division?
Yeah, good evening, and thanks for the opportunity. When you may remember a few months ago, we took a look at the overall system, and in that, things like Fox Hollow were what we considered obligated sites, places we knew were very pending, very close, and so we wanted to make sure we knew what capacity we had for all these obligated sites. And that's what kind of triggered us to say, okay, well, we can handle obligated, but that starts to really push us to like 80% capacity in some cases, which is why we thought we better start getting the ball rolling and thinking about what are our bigger term options here.
Mike, do you have any opinion on Jim's question that I tried to answer? You know, expansion of our current facilities would be more prudent than expansion in regards to a new facility shared by all?
Yeah, what's important with Division Street is you have to think Division Street is what you can consider your one permanent wastewater treatment plant. So you have another one that's Bonnie Bray, but it's a package plant, and it's very limited as to what we can do there. It's also in the middle of a residential area, so it's a hard thing to try to expand on. But Division gives you great opportunity. But more importantly, why we want to make sure we know what Division can bring you is that there's a geographic boundary that Lockport has. It's kind of around 159th Street or so. I think that's around the area where part of it falls south, part of it falls north. So there's a whole area of the city that logically goes to Division Street. So if I can't expand Division Street, then I have to start thinking about how do I get over that geographic boundary to go to the north. And so that's really why we want to make sure we know what can I get out of Division Street, because there's an area that logically, economically, and responsibly goes in that direction. We may find out we can't get much more out of it, and we still have to kind of go down the process. But that's why we want to do that first before the big picture.
And the other question's for the older people on the board. Did we ever do this study before I got here with any of the other engineers previous?
Yeah, we've had discussions about this, and this might be a question for Ben. Because of the FPAs, if we go regional, do we run the scenario where we could lose a part of the city? Like, I'll give you an example. When we spoke about this some years ago, there was discussion maybe Romeoville could come in and take Big Run Golf Course because of the FPAs.
Yeah, well, Big Run is in their FPA, so it's not in the Lockport FPA. So they wouldn't, you know, FPAs are very difficult to change, and conveying sewer across a border does not change FPA borders. So, I mean, anyone can treat someone's sewer if they pay to be
So
involved
if we
in those
go
operations.
regional, it's not going to make matters, if you want to call it worse, in that example with Big Run Golf Course, for
No,
example.
I don't think
It's
so.
in their FPA, and there's really not much we could do
And
about
who
that.
knows where a
Go
regional
regional
facility
or
would be
not.
placed. It may not be north, it may be more east, west. You know, that's part of why you would want to take a look at where to site something like that anyway, but.
The only plus I could see is, yes, it is in their FPA, but if it makes sense to use a regional one, then what we would do is we would ask Romeoville to help pay for a water treatment plant that we also use. So those are some of the pluses about it. But you're right, it is, the FPA is, it was established quite some time ago.
That's the intent of this regional one, is to do other FPAs, right? Not just,
You know, the intent of a regional, well, at least our intent in regards to having a regional water treatment facility is to share costs of operations and construction. So other people's, you know, FPAs could be conveyed into it and processed and treated, but it's not being used as a pawn in any way to change boundary lines, FPAs, or anything like that. I mean, we all have to process these materials, and if there's a partnership in a regional situation that makes sense, if it's feasible after we spend a little money studying that, And it's something we can approach in the future. I mean, I look at it as a long-term perspective where 20 years from now, the city's gonna have to have another treatment plant. Do I wanna spend 30 million alone, or would I rather spend 10 together? As long as I can achieve the same results, I'd rather have a regional approach.
So that brings up a question. So that regional quote that you have, if, who we said, Homer and Romeoville?
Yes.
One of those two backs out, that's less area for us to investigate, right? Is that your, so then your quote would go down?
Yeah, generally so. We would probably still,
Not to be blunt.
yeah. Oh, does it bring the proposal down? No, the actual effort in the regional aspect is actually figuring out where could this plant go that makes more sense. The figuring out how big the area is and what will come to the plant isn't as big, and we've actually done a lot of that already within the city itself. The big thing is, when you do a new plant, you have to get IEPA approvals. You have to, where am I going to discharge this to? They're going to tell you all kinds of regs. So there's a lot of coordination that goes into that with IEPA to figure out, okay, where can I actually put this plant? That's really the biggest effort in it.
Ben, the quotes seem fair?
Yes, I thought the, you know, the partnership in regards to splitting it 2 or 3 ways is where we were gonna get the economies of scale there. You know, I am seeking approval with the aspect of, I don't expect to have necessarily an answer as to who's going to be partnering or if anyone's gonna be partnering. So if the 2 communities aren't interested, then we won't proceed on that portion of the task order.
Who were you using for our population projections? I just thought when we did the water one, we were just,
Yeah,
I personally thought we shot a little high on what our population projections are for Lockport. And especially, does that affect what Homer Glenn's might be, Romeoville's might be, compared to us if we're gonna do this tri-way thing? How do those projections affect us and how much money we would spend compared to their population being a lot bigger?
Most of the projections you see in those documents that you're referring to are more of a regional projection anyway. It's not just the city of Lockport, it's more FPA confined. Some of them are high, we would agree. I think you build as you need. You know, they have projections that are on the high end and projections on the low end. They usually try to factor into something in the middle as an average, but we all know that, you know, we don't necessarily build what we don't need. You know, those projections, I can't remember the numbers off the top of my head, but I remember having the same conversation about that, and you know, it's a guess. Certainly, we hope that the area and the region, not only Lockport, but the other communities also continue to grow and have growth. We do see a lot of opportunity for growth, so you may want to prepare for it. At the study level, I think it's fine to spend some money on that to prepare. I think that, you know, the trigger points and the decisions of when you would actually build or go further into studies or deciding on exactly what's going to happen when only happens when it's required, you know, and warranted. So they could project 40,000, they could project 60,000, but you know, we don't have to spend too much more money in regards to factoring actual construction until it's warranted. And a lot of that also has to do with our capacities, and once our own capacities reach 80%, the IPA expects us to have a plan. And so if we can at least have some of this groundwork done in advance, we have something to turn to give to them and say, yes, we've already been discussing this and we can handle it this way or that way. So I think it's still definitely prudent and worth doing, at least at this level, until we know what's going to happen 5 years.
I'm good with it.
All right, anything else? Well, this is something we can just put on the consent then?
If you're comfortable with just allowing me to enter into the task order and contract with Strand to at least begin our portion, and then I'll certainly report back to you in the future if we continue to spend the other money or not. Again, we would do a cost not to exceed 64.5. We may only spend 41 if we don't get any partners, but it just keeps things moving. If we get 2 or 3 partners, that's great.
Okay.
So that'd be fine. The consent's fine with me.
Should we consent without 3 guys, or it's up to you?
Oh, with the 3 guys missing?
Yeah,
Teaching
Tom,
them
we
it's a
don't have
meeting.
a consent quorum problem.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
All right, you're taking Amy's stuff tonight?
Yes, sir, thank you. She's at training this week, and I'll handle the engineering things. I also wanted to give you an engineering update for her. She did share an email in regards to a lot of the construction updates that you should have received before your packet. We also wanted to talk a little bit about the Commerce Street construction project. We are waiting for some utilities to move ComEd and AT&T poles. and we feel like we want to let them get that done before we start doing the pavement. The contractor, Austin Tyler's, kind of requesting when's this going to happen. We could keep a lot of pressure on the utilities to get this done. I believe they're going to spend some extra money on outside contractors to get it completed next week, and we're going to have a little bit of a in regards to whether we want to try to hurry up and get that done this year, or depending on Austin Tyler's cutoff dates, we may have to wait till the spring. So we're kind of, in the next couple of weeks, we'll know a lot more. Usually the asphalt plant's closed by Thanksgiving. It's about a month to complete the project. If we can't get these poles removed and the lines relocated, we'll just have to wait to the spring. I think there's certainly opportunity in the spring to complete it before IDOT gets started on their project. I know that was a big concern, as when is, and that kind of transitions into my next comment about the update on construction. We had a meeting at IDOT on Monday, and they want to put out another letter of intent and formalize an IGA before the end of the year. You know, and a couple of things have transpired since the last time we spoke on this issue. We have always tried to get them to move up the start date. The goal is to have one construction season to minimize the impact on the businesses in downtown. So they were always going to do bid letting in June of 2017. We've been trying to get them to do it in March or February of 2017, but because of the state budget woes and everything that's going on with the backlog there, they pretty much told us that wasn't going to happen. What they do want to do is stay on their budget, have it be released in June of 2017, which means that's when they'll go out for bid. And then so they really wouldn't start until closer to the fall. And we've expressed concerns and what will they be able to achieve if they start opening the ground in September, October, and the winter comes. And they agreed that they felt like this project could be completed in one season. And so what they're proposing to do is to do the pre-engineering work, get the ordered materials going in 2017, but they really wouldn't hit it hard until after January of 2018 and have full construction in blue in March of 2018 and have it done before the fall of 2018. If you recall, we're going to be doing, they have agreed to allow the water mains to be changed in their project with their contractors between 8th and 11th, and also on 9th from the railroad tracks up to Hamilton. So we're getting some great cost benefit from that. We're obviously going to have to pay for it, but having their contractors do it, they will be charging us a 10% fee for construction observation and quality assurances. We would probably have to contract with someone for that anyway, but they'll be using Strand as our consultant and design to put all that in. Now the streetscape work will only be from 8th till 10th. That portion, we were hoping that they were going to work with a consultant or their contractors to manage for us. They have informed us on Monday that they're really just not comfortable fronting, A, all that money, and B, being in charge of quality assurance and quality control on a kind of more of a private brick streetscape plan. So what we'll be doing is trying to come up with a proposal. We were going to have to pay someone, whether it was IDOT or whether it's V3 or another firm. I know there's another local firm that did a really nice job with the public landing. We may contact them for some construction management. We want to make sure that we have enough partnerships in place to ensure the coordination with IDOT and our contractor will go out to bid at a more favorable time in the winter of 2017, so that when they will get a better pricing for our stonework. And we kind of feel like they're following their path and their timelines, but we don't think it's a good time of year to go out for bid in June. We'd rather go out for bid in the winter and get the best prices we can. If we're all going to be installing at the same time in 2018, we feel like that's the best thing for us. So I'll be bringing back another LOI. I'm waiting for them to send that back to me, and then we'll have to formulate an IGA probably in December, and then we'll finally have this kind of plan mapped out. So I just wanted to give you all the update on kind of what's been transpiring behind the scenes as we try to pull this all together. And
No discussion, that's it, they're done?
IDOT, yeah, they you know,
They were up for it for a while.
they were, well, I think what happened was, you know, the department head level people that we were talking to seemed fine with it, but when it got to the higher echelons of IDOT, they didn't, maybe it was a money thing. You know, they just said they weren't comfortable in having to front all that money and didn't want to be responsible for that type of, you know, private investment, that it was fine that we were doing it and we would coordinate with them and make things as seamless as possible. They have to provide, just so you know, they have to provide temporary access to doors and driveways and things during construction anyway, so we'll just be utilizing that until we come in and remove it to put in the brickwork. So all the vaults will be filled. You know, there was an opportunity.
So they're able to take out then, like, sidewalk replacement? I mean, since we're doing it on our own.
Right.
They can take that out of out of the contract that will be.
Correct. That'll be in the LOI that I bring to you in the future.
Okay.
We're getting like $170,000 credit for the sidewalks that they're not gonna put in, because we're putting our own expense and brickwork in. You know, there's a few areas that we won't be putting brick back in, that we will be doing cement, basically replacing as is in place. That would be the extension from 10th to 11th, and then also on the 9th Street from the railroad to the Hamilton Street parking lot. We looked into, we're changing the water main, so we're gonna be tearing it up anyway, and we thought, boy, could we expand and get all the brickwork in there too, but it was like another $300,000, and the budget's so tight on this already, we just didn't feel comfortable bringing that option to you at this point. The staff kind of said, we'll wait for the ITIP grants and hope we have other funding in the future to do those. So there will be a little bit of cement that's replaced back. You know, can we do some things creatively that don't cost anything, some texturing, some coloring maybe, if the committee decides at that time for those kinds of things, but that won't change the cost. And let's hope that the ITIP grants come in 2018, 2019, 2020, and we can maybe do a few more blocks with the streetscape. But
All right, so the plus of this kind of bump, instead of where they're looking at starting in 2018, is it's possible that we could maybe get an ITIP grant, you know?
Yes, that
because
gives us a little
we
bit
were
more
like,
time.
oh, you know, it's gonna be 2018, but now considering the timeline, maybe
That's when
maybe
they
we
would come
can
out.
get those done with an ITIP grant. All right, so I know Amy's very good at those, you know, filing for those
already
things.
submitted.
Second thing is, we need to get a letter out to all the downtown businesses. They need to understand this timeline.
Sure.
Because I know that, and rightly so, they're very concerned, so I think they need to get a full understanding of.
We could create a webpage. I think Amy has a section on her part of the website that talks about construction update. Maybe we could dedicate a whole section just on State Street and downtown and what's going on, and we can keep that up to date, you know, as we go all the time. It's a good idea. I know we've got another community newsletter coming out. We can include information on that. Certainly have it on the web. As we get closer, we can do some social media. IDOT has agreed to work with us in regards to allowing some additional signage during the construction period that they wouldn't necessarily allow in their right-of-way. We told them we're very concerned about the businesses and the impact, and you know, when they're open, and to give them as much help as we can. I'm sure in our community marketing, you know, plans, we can do some things for the downtown as well. Those
Sure,
are-
no, and all that's good, but immediately, they need to get, the resident, or the business owners need to understand that this timeline of when it starts, starting means for IDOT, yes, this is when we turn the coffee machine on and we start talking. It's like, you know,
finally
I'm
get
thinking
the money.
starting means we break ground, but
Yeah.
starting for these guys means that's when we go
They
out for
actually give you
bid, and,
money. Yeah.
yeah, so it really is pushing this project back another 6 months, because, you know, so they need to understand that right away.
We'll also do a community meeting. We'll have another meeting up in the council chambers with panels and everything, and kind of invite all the businesses in so we'll have an
Okay.
open house again too.
Okay,
So this could potentially mess up a lot of stuff, right? Just coordination could create a big issue. So
Well,
if we weren't doing our improvements, like
Yeah.
making it better than just an IDOT,
Sure.
if we said, forget about the improvements, IDOT would just put in sidewalks all the way to the buildings.
Correct.
So coordinating what you said, like, they're not putting in sidewalks, but they're giving us a credit, we weren't paying for the original.
That's why we're
Suck.
getting the credit, yeah.
Yeah, but we weren't paying IDOT to do 8th to 10th. It's their project, right? We were paying an extra, what was it, a couple months ago, 1 million something?
the 1.6, that's to actually, instead of just having them put cement back, it's like, hold on, guys, before it goes back, let us put it back in a way that,
Right, we'll put the upgrade and all that stuff.
Right.
So coordinating those things, they were originally gonna put in, so we're not, technically not getting a credit back for sidewalks.
I disagree. I don't understand what you're saying, to be honest with you.
It's not even my emails. All right, I just think
We get,
They
we
designed
should,
them. They put them in. to the-
IDOT designs building to building. Their cost is to put sidewalks in, building to building,
Yeah.
across the whole cross-section, doing all that stuff. So if we just let them do that, we don't pay anything out of pocket. It's an IDOT job, correct? So,
They're gonna take the 170 off of the additional money they're gonna charge us for the 10% and all that kind of stuff, so we will get
that's, okay. That's where I'm like, we're not paying for the original sidewalks. How are we getting a credit for it?
I understand now, thank you.
This design will get messy because when you start figuring out what they are doing, what we're doing, in terms of the grades and everything, and then having two different contractors, right? We talked about it a couple months ago about people pointing fingers at each other. That was not poured straight, and they can't figure it out to the door and all that stuff, so this is.
No, it's gonna be a challenge for our engineering department, and another reason why I think having when we look at getting a new public works director on there, it needs to be somebody who's able to manage those things, look overall. I think we're gonna need all the brain power we can muster from our professional staff. And, as I, mentioned with that alleyway was kind of a test, and, behind, in the alleyway going to the Hamilton Street parking lot, I mean, to me, that was a very small job, and I wasn't super excited about the way that played out. And so, I've been very clear with Ben that, we need to make sure that, whoever our people are that we're hiring to oversee these projects, that they have the same quality, eye for quality that we would have if it were our homes. I'm not gonna walk down there for the next 20 years and be disappointed with the way this was put in. It's gotta be put in right.
It's basically a once-in-a-generation opportunity to really change the fabric of the downtown, so.
So we should expect a different from V3, right? So V3's costs are gonna change, because they gotta design it.
If we go, V3's
separately.
designs will be the same. They've already designed the brickwork. What I will be proposing with the letter of intent would be the fact that we would contract out for some additional construction management, basically. Amy and Bob Ware and her crew, they've already said that job is pretty big and complex for them. Much like a federal aid project might be, where you have different consultants come in. Do we have V3 do that? Do we have a third party do that? I think those are some of the decisions we can still make going forward, and get some cost estimates on that. We were gonna have to pay someone for that. IDOT was gonna charge us 10 to 15%. We might be able to spend 8, 9, 10% with an outside firm. And then, of course, there will still be some coordination with our public works folks and engineering too, but the main day-to-day supervisors on site, I think that's gonna come from an outside firm,
Okay,
utilizing the test gun of V3 designs.
all right. Well, that wasn't even on the agenda, Ben.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so back to the agenda. The next item, ED1, is the Millen Creek Steam-Based Stabilization Plan. If you recall, at the last Committee of the Whole meeting, we showed a presentation about the creek, and she got a proposal here to get started on some of that work. This is basically preliminary engineering, cost estimates for the IPA process and engineering services to the total of $54,410. HLR were the ones that presented. I don't see them here tonight, but it all seemed in order, and Amy was looking to have that put on consent if you're ready to get started on our creek maintenance plan.
Everybody okay?
Yep.
All right, we'll do that, Alice, thank you. All right, holy moly, that's it. Any new business?
If I could just give you, under new business, an update on the budget process. So we've completed all of our department head meetings with Lisa and myself, and Lisa is at a training seminar as well, so I'm pretend finance director for tonight. We've completed all the one-on-one and two-by-two meetings with the mayor and the individual city council members. We will be presenting the budget as we have presented it all to you on October 19th. We will be, with this presentation, that's the time to be, discussing any changes or things that you want to see or feedback in regards to Lisa's PowerPoint. The plan would be to bring back a public hearing on November 2nd on the budget, and then we would be seeking approval on November 16th. And then we have to go for a tax levy on December 7th. So we've got a pretty good timeline there. We've got some time padded in, but we have to file with the county before December 27th. So we need to have it all wrapped up before the end of the year. So there'll be plenty of time for discussion.
Okay.
First opportunity next council meeting.
And again, for those watching at home, it's, we do our budget openly, and feel free to come to the meetings and, voice your opinions and your thoughts and concerns. That's,
Can't the public even come, like, get a copy?
Oh, sure.
It's
Yeah.
somehow public during that
Yeah,
time
we'll put
frame
it
as well.
online. You can download a link. You can get copies from the clerk's office. We'll publish notice for the hearing in the Herald News. It'll be on our website. We'll have multiple meetings for the budget presentation. We'll have budget hearings. We have the budget approval process, the tax levy meeting, the tax levy hearing, and the tax levy approval. So there's probably 6 opportunities in public meetings, and you can also come in person or online and get anything you want, so.
all right. If there's nothing else, looking for
I
a
got one
motion.
more thing. We kind of skipped over the liaison report, and I don't.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
And this was not really a liaison report, but I thought I would follow up. If you were like me and a little confused by the survey letter that was included in your water bill this last time, I called Scott Green just to get a clarification on that. This is that survey that started a year ago. It's a 2-year process. That's why you might not even remember doing the survey. It says this is a second notice. I went to go do it again, and I couldn't do it. I called Scott, and he goes, well, yeah, you did it a year ago. It's just we're still following up. This is the process. They still want people to fill it out. Participation, I hate to say, is a very low number. It's only about 20% of the people who have filled out the survey. They're happy with that number. They think they can get the correct results from it, but obviously they would like more. The IEPA is probably looking for 100%, but they're not going to get that. So just in case people are confused by that survey letter that they received, I just wanted to give a little information on that.
Oh, that's good.
7% more than the last election.
Yeah.
They should be happy.
All right, 20%.
The other thing on our new business, Hell's Gate, opening tomorrow night. It's going to be open October 6th through October 31st. That's 4 4-day weekends and a 5-day weekend on October 31st. So hope things will be going well. I know Terry has met with them, and we're prepared for the hopefully onslaught of thousands of people visiting Lockport.
Yeah, very interesting, very cool stuff.
I know John was on the radio, on FM, talking about the project, and very complimentary of the city officials and the process. So, yeah, he's out there marketing and
The
doing
video
well.
that went out, that the mayor, that was a good one with the reporter from Windy City.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
good.
All right.
So that was good advertising.
All right, good stuff. And good job, council, on working to help make that happen, so. All right, my friends, if that's, there's nothing else, I'll have a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion.
Second?
JR, seconded by Joanne, all in favor?
Aye.
Get right into it.
All right, you guys gonna plow through here? All right.
I give Alice a second.
Oh, yes. I like to get her all nervous right now. We're going, Alice, we're going.
Not seeing eye to eye lately.
And it's not even our verbal
What do you mean lately?
communications, the emails.
What do you mean lately?
Saw that a while back, I looked at that.
Yeah,
I'm
like,
like, oh, I
who are we
get
getting
it.
the credit from? We're not even.
We'll get the credit because we're gonna have to pay them a lot more.
Hey, Wi-Fi.
I'm sorry, I was trying to do that.
Thank you.
Tell me when.
Screenshot of this? Yeah. You have to put it in just the way it is, too.
Okay, we'll do a roll call.
All right.
Petracos,
Here.
Gilogly,
Here.
Deskin is absent, sorry, Smith is absent, Vandermeer,
Here.
Loretta,
Here.
and Bartleson.
Here.
5 present.
Okay, looking to have a motion to have a consent agenda tonight.
That motion?
Second.
Bob, seconded by Jason, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, so tonight we have approval of the September 21st regular city council meeting minutes, the committee of the whole meeting minutes from the same date, payroll period ending September 18th, approval of various bills. We have audit resolution 16072 with Sickich. There's a proposed construction project at the Lockport Police Station. That was a motion to authorize the city administrator to approve the architectural contract. And not to exceed 224. Clearing title to 2-acre stormwater detention area over on Reef Road. That was resolution 16070. MFT funds for sale purchases for snow and ice. That looks like everything. Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All right, Jim Petracas, seconded by Jason. Can I have a roll call, Alice?
Sure. Trakos?
Yes.
Gilogly?
I vote yes on all matters on the consent agenda, except those that pertain to my employer. On those items, in this case, item 4, approval of various bills, I abstain from voting.
Mayor, we'll have you vote as well.
Yep, I approve.
Vandermeer?
Yes.
Alderman Paretto?
Yes.
And Bartleson?
Yes.
All right, very good. First thing I've got here in the mayor's report is a proclamation from the White Oak Library District. You know, White Oak Library has done, really worked well together with the city these last few years. Everything from Comicopoulos to other events, and just been a great partner. So a real good asset that we've had down here. They've asked me to read a proclamation for the Friends of the White Oak Library District Week. Whereas Friends of the White Oak Library District raise money that enable our library to move from good to great, providing the resources for additional programming, much needed equipment, support for children's summer reading, and special events throughout the year. Whereas the work of the Friends highlights an ongoing basis the fact that our library is the cornerstone of the community, providing opportunities for all to engage in the joy of lifelong learning and connect with the thoughts and ideas of others from ages past to the present. Whereas the Friends, understanding the critical importance of well-funded libraries, and advocate to ensure that our library gets the resources it needs to provide a wide variety of services to all ages, including access to print and electronic materials, along with expert assistance in research, readers advisory, and children's service. Whereas the Friends' gifts of their time and commitment to the library sets an example for all in how volunteerism leads to positive civic engagement and the betterment of our community. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Mayor Stephen Streit, on behalf of our City Council, proclaims October 16th through 22nd, 2016 as Friends of the White Oak Library District Week in Lockport, Illinois, and urges everyone to join the Friends of the Library and thank them for all they do to make our library and community so much better. Just looking to see if we have consent to make that proclamation. All in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Yes, we'll do it. And I know it's the 16th, but we're not here next week, so I wanted to get this done before the beginning of the 16th. So, very good. All right, what's next? Ben, you're taking this, right?
Yes, thank you. Mayor and members of the council, this is in regards to the High Road Bridge repairs. It's a final change order approval. This will be a resolution authorizing the change order on the 2015 bridge maintenance project contract with deconstruction in the amount of $54,535.47. It's resolution 16075. The city awarded a contract back in 2015. It was a $265,000 contract. There was some additional repairs required on High Road for $374,000 that were awarded. In 2016, the change orders came in at an estimated $55,000. The final costs have all come in at $54,535.47, saving us $464.53. So, seeking approval to finalize that bridge contract and close everything out in the amount of $54,535.47.
All right, looking for a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
JR, seconded by Bob. Any concerns, thoughts, questions? Everything good?
We make them round it down.
Round it down. I hate those pennies.
24 cents. I don't know what that is. But.
All right. Alice, can you do a roll call,
Sure.
please?
Bartleson?
Yes.
Paretto?
Yes.
Vandermeer?
Yes.
Gilogly?
Yes.
And Petrakos?
Yes.
5 yeas, motion carried.
All right, my friends, that's actually everything. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
JR, seconded by
Jim.
Big Jim. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.